Hey everybody, Brad Clemens back again. I know this book isn't one that I had mentioned that I was reading, but it has been one I've read in the past. And my current book, Yes and, is taking a little longer than I had expected. I'm actually moving my way through it pretty well, about halfway done right now. So I'm hoping to be able to do it not this weekend, but the following weekend. That first real weekend of April, I guess you could say. But I wanted to make sure to get you guys something as well. So, talking books now. It's going back to one of the ones I've read in the past, a very good book, something I've actually done a lot with, is Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. I'm sure you've probably heard of him. He's the financial guru that America's face of finance right now. And I know a lot of what he talks about can be a little controversial, strictly because a lot of people may think that, they know money, they know what to do with money, and he says a lot of opinions that are contrary to beliefs that many people hold true and dear to themselves. I know growing up I had heard that you needed to have a credit score, you needed to have a credit card, all that kind of stuff, and quite honestly, I never really understood why. I just kind of went along with the flow like most people do. Our schooling system doesn't really teach you anything that in respects to finance and how to actually budget, how to actually control your cash flows both in and out, and how to actually be financially responsible. So all we hear is what the media tells us and the commercials say, which is earn points, earn extra miles, cash back, all that jazz that says this is how you make it, this is how you get rich. And quite honestly, that couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm not saying that strictly from what I've read and what I've learned and what I've listened to from Dave Ramsey and other like-minded financial advisors, but from even my own experience. So I want to dive in a little bit and talk about first what this book is, and then what it's meant for me and how it can relate to you. So the Total Money Makeover, he talks about it as a financial fitness plan, and within it, this book was actually a little different than most finance books. It wasn't just a bunch of algorithms, it wasn't just a bunch of statistics. It was he likes to say common sense knowledge wrapped up with stories of success. So when you go through it, you're reading about different families, different people just like you and I that had similar circumstances, maybe better, maybe worse, not always identical, but same concept. And again, basically trying to get in control of their money. Many people ask at the end of the month, what happened, where did my money go? And he talks about how you have to be in control. Don't let the money control you. So let's dive in with this. But yeah, again, talking about it like a journey of the financial fitness journey. He explains that the first part about that is realizing you have a problem. And just like if you're trying to get in shape, your first thing would be recognizing that maybe you're overweight. Maybe you have a heart condition could become a problematic or something along those lines, right? And you can't just be in denial. You can't simply say that I'm not that out of shape, when in reality you may be. Same can be said with your money. You say I'm not really that far into debt, but let's be real, any debt is bad debt, because once you're in debt, you're a slave to the lender. And the only way to really be free and really to have financial success and security is by removing that debt. So you have to get past that stage of denial. After that, big thing would be to just become comfortable with yourself and what you want to do. And as he explains, not to keep up with the Joneses. I understand the reference in brief, but I mean the bottom line is you don't have to be, there's no point to spend money to impress others. They truly don't care. You think they do, but they don't. Everyone thinks that they have to spend money to, be noticed, be recognized, be important, but the answer to that is no. And if people are only around you because of what you spend, do you really want those people in your life anyways? They truly must not care about you. All they care about is your money. So, take it with a grain of salt, but you do you, fam. But what I'm saying is, if people like you for you, they're going to stay regardless of your financial situation. And more importantly, they're not going to stay and just be with you because you have money. So even if you pretend that you have money and use everything on a credit card, that's not helping you either. But let's move on. Let's move forward. He talks about there being 7 baby steps. And he calls them that because in order to progress through your financial journey, you can't just do everything at once. It's like the old proverb, the old adage about how do you eat an elephant, and the answer being one bite at a time. The same thing holds true here. For many people, we like to spend. I'm a spender, at least on certain things, and I'm sure many people are as well. There's some things I find easier to ignore than others, but then there's times where I just want to spend, or there's something I really want to get. Take for instance, I've been really working on my personal fitness, my nutrition. Just last night, I saw this ad for a PB Fit, some like protein-styled peanut butter, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. Asked my one friend about it. He said his mom gets it, she likes it, and I was like, okay, cool. And I bought it. All that happened in one evening, one night. I get it wasn't a massive purchase, but at the same time, it's just the concept that there are certain triggers that you need to be aware about. For me, a lot of my quick buy triggers would be health related or fitness and food related. What I mean by that is I bought this because I'm like, oh, it's food, but it's something to keep me healthy. I'm going to be cutting soon. This will cut down on fat. It's a perfect choice. I'm a collector, or I don't want to say collector, I'm a connoisseur. I enjoy various bourbons. I like trying and sampling different ones, and I just enjoy the hunt, trying to find exclusive allocated bottles. And with that said, I've been known to spend more than I should in a single trip, because I found not just one bottle, but maybe 2 bottles. Or I went to simply go get some rum for the summer, and all of a sudden Blanton's was there, so I was like, I might as well get it. I know that about myself though. And because of that, because I know that's a point where I spend more money than I may want to, I separated it into its own category. But more on that in just a moment. So, going through the steps. Step 1 is just saving $1,000. For many of you, you may have that done already. For others, that could be hard. And it's not hard because it's hard to save $1,000. Like, the actual amount isn't anything insurmountable. But the concept, and the creation of the behavior of just saving is the hard part. For a lot of people, that if you aren't a saver, you may never have had $1,000. Especially talking to other young entrepreneurs and young adults like myself. I'm 24. I would have been shortly removed from college, and for many people, they don't have any money or nothing to talk about, and whatever they get ends up going right back out that same week. So it takes some discipline, and it takes that new behavior trait to actually save money. So that's why that first step is there. Again, it's nothing groundbreaking. They call it the beginner emergency fund, and in essence, that is kind of what it can be. I mean, $1,000 may or may not cover what the emergency is, but it's just getting the wheels moving. So law of inertia, right? Once an object at rest stays at rest, an object in motion stays in motion. So it's just getting the wheels churning and getting your saving behavior, your saving attitude up and running. After that, you start to really get into the nitty gritty. And I say that because it's true. I know that was step 1, but steps 2 and 3, those are the doozies. Those are the hard ones. And unfortunately, they come right away. There's really no way to do it any better way, but you got the challenges right up front. It's like if you're looking at, I've done some hiking on the Appalachian Trail. There was a day where I woke up, we were right by the New Jersey line. We started off hiking, it was about a mile, flat terrain, maybe a slight gradient. Again, similar to baby step 1, nothing too hard. I was almost just fortunate enough to get my body woken up to start hiking again. But then, again, we're only 20 minutes into the day. There's what you're thinking, the Appalachian Trail, it's all mountains, right? But this one was different. It was, I won't say, 90-degree angle straight up, but it was close. And the sad thing, not sad, but it was 2 miles just up. And it wasn't something like where I could go straight up in a straight line, and it wasn't that the mountain was 2 miles high. But because of the gradient, we had to go up in like a crosshatch pattern to make it to the top. And it was intense. It was a hard climb right in the morning. In fact, when we got to the top, or as we're hiking, we notice it's kind of barren. There's very little life up there for a couple, there's a couple main reasons. But first one being, it's just high up. Everything, most things don't live that high up. And then the stuff that did make it or does live up there had died out from like various ore deposits that remained. So it was a barren wasteland, and we got so high that we were inside a cloud. That was an intense climb. And that's what steps 2 and 3 are. They're intense climbs. But when I did get to the top, things got easier. Sure, we still had, ups and downs after that, but I could slow down. I could take in the view, especially after that cloud moved away. And things kind of got into more of a cruise mode, a chill mode, and I enjoyed the rest of the trip. And that's what's going to happen with this journey here, this financial journey. So step 2 is what he calls the debt snowball. And that's when you take out your debt. Everything except for the mortgage. And what you do, what the snowball means, is you'd start with your smallest debt. You go smallest to largest. I'm not talking interest rates. I'm talking total value of the debt. So let's say you have credit card debt, on a Visa for $500. You have a Discover debt for $1,500. You have student loans for $12,000, and you have a car note loan for $5,000. So we had $500, $1,200, $12,000, I believe it was. I apologize, I'm off a little bit, and the car, which is in the middle. Let's give these easier numbers because I forgot them already. So $500 in, let's just say $500 total in credit card, $3,000 in car, $12,000 in student loans. You'd go in that order. $500 first, take out that card. Then you go after the the car. Depending on your situation, you may or may not want to sell it. And after that, you tackle your student loans. And the concept here is this: you make minimum payments on every single loan and every single debt except for the smallest one, and you go after with a vengeance. Once that's gone, let's say you had payments, several card payments, $500 each, you take care of each one. Eventually, all those are gone. You don't have to make payments on those anymore. Don't spend any more on a credit card. And then you tackle the next one, which was, in this case, our car loan, right? All the money that was being, again, minimum on your student loan, no longer minimum on your car, because you're gonna make maximum payments that you possibly can, because you're gonna use all the money that you had been using on your credit cards to pay that off, plus the minimum there. Put those together, you're gonna make some more, make some increased progress, and any other money you can scrape is what you're gonna use towards it. And you keep doing that until it's gone. At this moment though, you're not going out and just spending money. You're not spending just to spend. You're not going out just to, quote unquote, enjoy the normal life. And what I mean by that is, you don't go out to, bars every night. You don't go take a trip. This is crunch time. And it doesn't have to be anything prolonged. This would take maybe 1-2 years. I think you can make it. Because as soon as that, all that's taken care of, all that debt's gone, you're gonna be a far better place than where you were. But I'm not gonna go into too much more detail in that, because if you're interested in that, I'm sure you can, find information about it yourself. But I'm just gonna keep plugging along, and the next portion after that is your true emergency fund, which he explains as 3 to 6 months of expenses. If you have a stable job, you could probably get away with 3 months, especially if you're single. If you are, married, you may want to consider closer to 6, especially if you have a family. Or in my case, I'm doing 6 because I'm single, sure, but I'm doing 6 because I own a business, and I wouldn't say it's the most stable. My livelihood, my career, and my livelihood are all trapped into one thing here. So, I do 6 months just to make myself feel more secure. Sure, if you don't, everyone has a different risk tolerance. If you have a stable job but you want to have 6 months, do it. What's the worst that happens? You have, a bigger emergency fund. But that's, step 3. After that, things start to get, rolling into more of a stable state. And once you finish step 3, that's when you can't take your foot off the pedal. You don't have to go, max speed anymore. You can relax, you can start enjoying life as a normal person would, but again, not going back into debt. So step 4, this is part of where I am, is maximizing retirement. They recommend 15%, at least when you start. So 15% of your income needs to go to retirement. Even if you're young, you need to do it. If you're old, you need to do it. If you're somewhere in between, you need to do it. I started working my retirement. I invested into my Roth IRA when I was 23. Even if I don't, add any more in, or if I just stay at that stable $6,000 annual, it's gonna grow. I'm gonna have a very stable, safe, enjoyable retirement. I do plan to start, increase it once at a later date. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But again, 15% of your income to retirement. The next ones, steps 5 and 6 and 7 are a little different. 5 would be college funding. If you don't have kids, you don't have to worry about it. Once you have kids, do you want to contribute or do you want to fund their college? That's a decision you need to make. And if the decision or the answer is yes, then you start funding for their college. 7 would be paying off your mortgage. We talked about or not 7, 6, sorry. We talked about how back in step 2 it was all debts except your mortgage. Well, now it's mortgage time. In this case, again, you don't have to go super intense, but you want to put any extra money towards it. Your goal would probably be, again, always go in with a 15-year fixed rate mortgage. But even if you have that, your goal would probably be to get it done in 8 years max. Very doable, especially if you don't have any other payments, right? But there's a subcategory. So back at 3 was our emergency fund. There's something called 3B, which is when you save your down payment. I've done that. I'm looking, to get a house either later this fall or next year. I'm looking at that $200,000, $250,000 range, give or take, and I know I need to have 20% down, right? That way I can avoid PMI, and it can actually have a chance to get a good, good rate. Right now I have saved up for my down payments about just $55,000, give or take. I'm just gonna keep, I'm gonna keep plugging away at that. Right now I'm putting away just about $1,000 a month towards that, so I'm still growing it as we speak. About $12,000 annual. So if I look to get it by the end of this month, I'll probably have about $67,000 in there. If I do it next year, I'll be closer to $79,000. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But that's the plan. I want to have as much of that paid off right away. That way, my mortgage, won't be as bad, won't be too hard. And I understand that you're thinking then your minimum payment on your mortgage will be much lower, and this is true. But I don't intend to just do the minimum. In fact, I want to have my house completely paid for before I'm 30. So that gives me, what, like 5.5 years? I think that's plenty of time, don't you? But after you're done, again, that's after getting your college going. Then again, if you have kids, then your retirement going. If you have kids, then you got college funding. And then you have the mortgage if you have that. Once you finish off your mortgage, we go back to retirement. And this is the fun part. You take what you were spending on your mortgage and you put it towards retirement, or some variance within the, all to none. It doesn't have to be all of your mortgage, what was your mortgage payment going to retirement. But my goal would be at that point to raise my 50% retirement to 25%. And I say this because I don't want to wait to retire at the average age 65 or so. I'm actually wanting to retire in part by 55. So I feel like if I have my house paid off by 30, that's going to put me in a very good place to be able to retire earlier than most other people. Again, it all just comes with a plan, and the best way to plan this out is with your budget. Now, a budget is simply telling your money what to do. I just completed my budget for April. Yesterday, last day of March, and I've made different categories. I know what money I have coming in, and I know where it's gonna go. I know that 15% of it's gonna go towards my retirement. I know that about 15% of it's gonna go towards my rent. I know that about 15% of it is going to be in my grocery and my grocery budget. I know that I have X amount saved, or not saved, but set away for entertainment purposes, whether going out, going to a movie, buying a new game. You get the idea. And sure, this fluctuates every single month, but the neat thing is I'm in control of it. I get to decide where it goes. But after you make that budget, you need to, follow it. If you say that you have all these different categories broken up and then you don't follow it, then it's pointless. I'm not saying things don't happen. Take, for instance, when I found that, extra bottle of bourbon that one day. I had, we'll just get some easy numbers, $100 set in my bourbon budget, right? Looking at purchasing that, it would bring me up to $150 spent. I was like, oh, okay, this is above my budget. But I knew I had extra money set aside my play money. So I sacrificed some of my play money to get that. There's a choice I made. I didn't take it, I would never take it away from money that needs to be used for expenses, like true expenses, as in rent, utilities, food, you get the idea. And I would never take it away from my retirement. But I was willing to take it away from my extra spending money. And in essence, those are all just different categories of the same spending. It's enjoyment money, it's play money. I just categorize them slightly different for my own personal, sanity and recognition. But you can set it up however you want. I use Dave Ramsey's tool every day, every dollar. I do like it. It's simplifies the concept of money in, money out. Every dollar has a purpose, it has a name. If you're interested in that, I know it's on Apple Store, Google Play, so check it out. Probably will help you. I know it helped me. But again, after all that is said and done, you have to, he talks about living like no one else. And he always says you have to live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later. And that means you want to be, well, not normal, but unusual in a good way. Both ways. Right now, when you're starting off, you're going to be not normal because you're not using a credit card. You're saving, you're paying off debt, and you're not just flouting around, taking excessive trips, spending money on, spending money you don't have on things you don't need. You're preparing for the future. And then later on, once you have your retirement going, your savings, you're looking awesome, everything's falling into place, you can spend without much concern. Why? Because you already saved up enough. You already prepared yourself and set yourself up for a financial future, a successful financial future, both because your retirement's being funded, so if and when you stop working, you're good to go. You also have the behavior trait to budget and spend according to the budget that you created, so you don't overspend. You understand what money is and how it's used and where you can use it and how to safely use it, both in spending and saving and giving. So bottom line is, you have set yourself up for success. I know a lot of times, my friends go out and they spend, X amount, maybe at the bar, maybe going to a game, whatever it is. But in the moment, they're enjoying it. They're not thinking about what they're spending, they're just putting on a credit card. But then later on, they regret having done it because they get that credit card statement, or they end up having a bill larger than they expected. And they weren't prepared for it, they weren't ready for it. And now the question is, can they pay for their actual bills? Whereas in my case, I know where my money's going. I don't necessarily know how I'm gonna spend it for entertainment, but I have my pool, my bucket of spending money there. And I could spend, I think last month I allotted, let's just say $250 for entertainment, just for play money. And quite honestly, I could spend all of it and not care. Why? Because I know that my other bills are covered. This isn't taking money away from that. My retirement's covered. My house savings are covered. Basically, I'm not using money that I need. I can spend it. I could spend it all, buying I don't know, whatever. I could do it in one purchase. I could do it over multiple purchases. In fact, I think sometimes I put more in that category than others. Around Christmas, when my friends were all in from college, I think I put like $500, $700 there. It doesn't matter. Why? Because I know where it's going. I chose to put it there. There's trade-offs, absolutely, but I wasn't sacrificing my, living expense. I wasn't sacrificing my lifestyle. I wasn't sacrificing my future, my retirement. And that's what came about because I didn't have payments. I wasn't giving money to the bank for interest. I wasn't giving money to the, debt collectors for bad loans. I set myself up for a financial future, a successful financial future, and a lot of it came from reading this book, listening to these podcasts, and overall just using some common sense and thinking, why should I spend money I don't have to then just have to pay it back? I'll tell you one thing that does happen. If you start not using a credit card, even if you simply go to debit card, you'll realize that it feels different when you buy things. So all in all, I think it's time for all of us to go out there and take control of our financials and create a financial future that we will actually want and that'll lead us to success at all points in our life. There's no reason that you should struggle now, struggle later, and then struggle later after that. Put in a little time, put in some effort now. Yes, it might suck for a year, 2 at the most. But then after that, you're good. You're good. And quite honestly, for other people my age, let's be real, we're used to living like poor college kids. So once you get that new fancy job, live like a poor college kid for 1 more year. 2 maybe at the most again. Pay off the loans you have, and you'll be setting yourself up for so much success. You can do it. Suck it up and make it happen. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.